Admiral Sarah Chen stood before the massive viewing screen in the United Earth Defense Command Center, watching the alien fleet that had appeared at the edge of the solar system 3 days ago. The ships were unlike anything humanity had ever seen. Sleek, crystalline structures that seemed to bend light around them, making them appear almost ethereal against the star-filled void. "Ma'am, incoming transmission from the lead vessel," reported Communications Officer Martinez, his voice tight with tension. "Put it through," Chen replied, straightening her uniform. She had been expecting this moment since the alien fleet first dropped out of hyperspace. The screen flickered, and suddenly she was face to face with a being that defied easy description. The creature's features were sharp and angular, with skin that shimmered like polished metal. Its eyes were deep pools of violet light, and when it spoke, its voice carried the weight of absolute authority. "I am Supreme Commander Zarthak of the Galactic Hegemony," the alien announced. "Your species has been evaluated and found wanting. You have 48 of your planetary rotations to surrender your weapons, dismantle your military forces, and prepare for integration into our empire as a subject species. Refuse and face extinction." Admiral Chen felt the eyes of every person in the command center on her. Behind her, she could hear the quiet murmur of conversations as staff members processed what they had just heard. The weight of speaking for all of humanity settled on her shoulders like a physical burden. "And if we agree to your terms?" she asked, keeping her voice steady despite the fear gnawing at her stomach. "You will be relocated to designated worlds where you will serve the greater good of the hegemony. Your reproductive capabilities will be controlled to maintain optimal population levels. Your most intelligent specimens will be selected for advanced labor duties. The rest will provide manual labor where needed." The command center fell silent except for the hum of machinery. Chen looked around at her staff, men and women who had dedicated their lives to protecting Earth and its colonies. In their faces, she saw the same mixture of fear and defiance that was burning in her own chest. "How many species have accepted these terms?" Chen asked. Commander Zarthak's expression shifted slightly, perhaps showing surprise at the question. "In the past millennium, the hegemony has encountered 237 species. All have chosen wisdom over destruction. All of them surrendered? Those who did not surrender were eliminated. Their worlds now serve as mining operations or have been terraformed for more useful purposes." Chen nodded slowly, her mind racing through the implications. Behind the alien commander, she could see glimpses of the hegemony fleet. Hundreds of ships, each one larger than Earth's biggest dreadnought. The technological gap was obvious. Humanity had barely achieved faster-than-light travel a generation ago, while these beings commanded technology that seemed almost magical. "I need to consult with Earth's government," Chen said finally. "When do you require our answer?" 48 hours from this moment," Zarthak replied. "Do not test our patience, human. We have perfected the art of war over millions of years. Your primitive weapons cannot harm us, and your small fleet would be destroyed before you could fire a single shot." The transmission ended, leaving the command center in heavy silence. Admiral Chen turned to face her staff, seeing her own thoughts reflected in their expressions. They were looking at the end of human independence, possibly the end of humanity itself. "Options report," she said, falling back on military protocol to maintain focus. "Our entire fleet consists of 43 ships," reported Fleet Admiral Torres via hologram from Luna Base. "The enemy fleet has over 300 vessels, each one approximately 5 times larger than our biggest dreadnought. Preliminary scans suggest their defensive capabilities are beyond anything we can penetrate with conventional weapons." Dr. Rebecca Walsh, Earth's leading xenobiologist, stepped forward from where she had been observing. "Admiral, I've been analyzing their communication protocols and ship designs. This hegemony appears to be ancient, possibly millions of years old as they claimed. They've had time to perfect not just military technology, but social control systems. Every species they've conquered has likely faced the same choice. And they all surrendered, muttered Colonel Harrison from the tactical station. The ones that didn't surrender don't exist anymore, Dr. Walsh corrected grimly. Admiral Chen walked to the tactical display showing Earth and its colonies. Mars had 2 million inhabitants. Europa Station housed another 500,000. The asteroid mining operations supported hundreds of thousands more. All told, humanity had spread to nearly 3 billion souls across dozens of worlds and stations. "Ma'am," called out Lieutenant Peterson from the intelligence station, "I'm receiving reports from our deep space monitoring stations. The alien fleet isn't just positioned at the edge of our system. They have smaller formations at every major colony world. Mars reports 12 ships in orbit. Europa Station confirms 6 vessels. They've positioned themselves to strike everywhere at once." The tactical picture became clear immediately. The hegemony wasn't just threatening Earth. They had surrounded every significant human settlement simultaneously. Even if Earth's fleet could somehow damage the main force, which seemed impossible, the colonies would be defenseless. "Estimated casualties if they carry out their threat?" Chen asked quietly. "Total extinction," Torres replied without hesitation. "Their positioning suggests they could sterilize every human world within hours." Chen closed her eyes for a moment, thinking of her daughter attending university on Mars, of her grandchildren playing in the parks of New Geneva on Europa. 48 hours to decide the fate of the human race. "Admiral," Dr. Walsh said softly, "there might be another consideration. I've been studying their demands carefully. They want our weapons dismantled and our military dissolved, but they're not demanding immediate surrender of our civilian government or industrial capacity." Meaning? Meaning they might actually intend to keep us alive, at least initially. Most conquerors throughout history have found living slaves more useful than dead enemies. Colonel Harrison turned from his station. "But for how long? Once they have us disarmed and scattered across their empire, what's to stop them from working us to death or simply eliminating us when we're no longer useful?" "Nothing," Chen admitted. "Absolutely nothing." The Admiral walked back to the main viewing screen, staring out at the distant alien fleet. Each ship represented technology and military power that humanity couldn't hope to match. The logical choice was obvious: surrender and hope for the best. Live as slaves rather than die as free beings. But something deep in her chest rebelled against that logic. Humanity hadn't clawed its way up from primitive hunters to space-faring civilization by accepting defeat. Every major advancement in human history had come from people who refused to accept that something was impossible. "Dr. Walsh," she said suddenly, "how long would it take you to analyze their technology if you had access to wreckage from one of their ships?" The scientist blinked in surprise. "Admiral, we'd need to actually damage one of their vessels first, and you've seen the tactical reports." "Hypothetically, if we had debris to study." Dr. Walsh considered the question seriously. "With our quantum computers and full research staff? Maybe weeks to understand basic principles, months to reverse engineer anything useful, years to develop countermeasures." "We don't have years. We don't even have weeks." Chen turned back to the tactical display, her mind working through possibilities. 43 human ships against over 300 alien vessels, with technology centuries or millennia ahead of humanity's best efforts. The math was brutally simple. But math wasn't everything. Admiral Chen remembered studying ancient Earth battles where smaller, less equipped forces had achieved impossible victories through tactics, determination, and sheer, bloody-minded refusal to accept defeat. The Battle of Thermopylae, where 300 Spartans held off a massive Persian army. The Warsaw Ghetto Uprising, where poorly armed civilians fought against impossible odds simply because dying on their feet was preferable to living on their knees. "Signal all fleet commanders," she said suddenly. "Emergency conference in 1 hour. Full encryption." "Ma'am," Colonel Harrison looked concerned. "Are you considering military action?" "The tactical projections?" "I'm considering all options, Colonel. That's what commanders do." As her staff began implementing her orders, Admiral Chen remained at the viewing screen, watching the alien fleet. In 46 hours, she would have to give Zarthak an answer that would determine humanity's future. The smart choice was surrender. The logical choice was survival at any cost. But Admiral Sarah Chen was beginning to realize that sometimes the smart choice and the right choice were two very different things. And for the first time since the aliens arrived, she felt something other than fear growing in her chest. It was small at first, barely noticeable, but it was there. It was the same feeling that had driven her ancestors to explore dangerous oceans, to climb impossible mountains, to reach for distant stars. It was the uniquely human conviction that some things were worth fighting for, even when the odds were hopeless. Especially when the odds were hopeless. The emergency fleet conference had lasted 8 hours. Admiral Chen sat alone in her office afterward, staring at the final tactical plans displayed on her personal screen. Every simulation showed the same result: total human defeat within the first hour of engagement. The alien technology was simply too advanced, their numbers too overwhelming. But the meeting had revealed something unexpected. When faced with the choice between surrender and certain death, every single fleet commander had voted the same way. Not one of them had chosen submission. "Admiral," came Lieutenant Peterson's voice through the intercom. "The President is on Secure Channel 1. Chen straightened her uniform and activated the communication link. President Maria Santos appeared on her screen, looking exhausted. Behind her, Chen could see the chaos of the Emergency Government Center, with staff members moving rapidly between stations. "Sarah," the President said without preamble, "I've been in contact with the colony governors and the congressional leadership. We've received preliminary reports from every major settlement." "What's the consensus, Madam President?" "Unanimous," Santos replied, though her voice carried no satisfaction. "From the Outer Rim mining stations to the Mars agricultural domes, the response is the same. Nobody wants to surrender. Even when I explained the tactical situation, even when I made it clear that resistance means death, the answer hasn't changed." Chen nodded slowly. She had expected as much, but hearing it confirmed still sent a chill down her spine. Humanity was choosing extinction over slavery. "There's something else," President Santos continued. "Dr. Petrov's team at the Lunar Research Station has made a discovery. Apparently, they've been analyzing the alien ship's emission signatures." "What kind of discovery?" "I'm transferring Dr. Petrov to this channel now." The screen split, and Dr. Mikhail Petrov appeared from his laboratory on Luna. The elderly scientist looked more excited than anyone had a right to be given their circumstances. "Admiral Chen," Petrov began immediately, "we've detected something remarkable about their propulsion systems. The aliens are using a form of exotic matter manipulation that creates controlled gravitational fields. The energy signatures suggest they're drawing power from quantum vacuum fluctuations." "In simple terms, Doctor?" "They're harnessing zero-point energy. It's incredibly advanced, but it has a weakness. The quantum fields they generate are precisely tuned to avoid interference. If those fields were disrupted by a specific resonance frequency, their ships would lose both propulsion and primary power." Chen felt her heart begin to beat faster. "How specific?" "Very specific. We're talking about a frequency window measured in microhertz. But Admiral, if we could generate that resonance, their entire fleet would be crippled simultaneously. Do we have the technology to generate such a frequency?" Dr. Petrov's excitement dimmed slightly. "That's the problem. The power requirements are enormous. We would need to channel the entire output of a fusion reactor through a quantum resonance array. The only facility capable of generating that much focused energy is the Prometheus station." Admiral Chen knew Prometheus Station well. It was humanity's most advanced research facility, built in the asteroid belt specifically to conduct high-energy experiments safely away from populated areas. The station housed a prototype fusion reactor that had been designed to power eventual interstellar colony ships. "How long would it take to modify Prometheus for this purpose?" she asked. "With the full research team, 36 hours minimum. But, Admiral, there's another problem. Prometheus Station is in the asteroid belt, 12 hours away from Earth at maximum burn. The alien fleet would detect any major energy buildup long before we could complete the modifications." President Santos leaned forward on her side of the screen. "What are you thinking, Sarah?" Chen was quiet for a long moment, her mind working through the implications. A plan was forming, desperate and probably impossible, but it was better than simply waiting to die. "Madam President, I need authorization for Operation Thermopylae." "What's Operation Thermopylae?" "A last stand. We're going to refuse the alien ultimatum and make them come to us. While they're destroying our fleet, a small team will attempt to reach Prometheus Station and activate Dr. Petrov's resonance weapon." Dr. Petrov looked alarmed. "Admiral, the odds of success are minimal. Even if the team reaches Prometheus, even if they complete the modifications, the weapon might not work as theorized." "Doctor, the odds of survival under alien rule are also minimal. At least this way, we die trying." President Santos was quiet for several minutes, her face grave. Finally, she nodded. "You have my authorization, Admiral. What do you need?" "Complete operational secrecy. The aliens are probably monitoring our communications, but we have to assume they can't decrypt our quantum-encrypted military channels instantly. I need Dr. Petrov's team to begin working on the technical specifications immediately, and I need to prepare a response to Commander Zarthak." "What kind of response?" Chen smiled grimly. "The kind that will make him angry enough to come after us with everything he has." 6 hours later, Admiral Chen stood again before the main viewing screen as the alien commander's image appeared. Supreme Commander Zarthak looked exactly as he had before, supremely confident and utterly convinced of his superiority. "Human Admiral," Zarthak began, "your time limit approaches. Have your people chosen wisdom?" "We have made our choice," Chen replied calmly. "The United Earth government and all human colonies have considered your generous offer." "And?" Chen took a deep breath. In the next few seconds, she would either doom humanity to a glorious but futile death, or possibly give them their only chance at survival. "We reject your ultimatum," she said clearly. "Humanity will not surrender its freedom to anyone, regardless of the consequences. If you want our worlds, you'll have to take them by force." For the first time, Zarthak's expression changed. The alien commander's violet eyes narrowed, and his metallic skin seemed to darken. "You would choose extinction over servitude?" "Every human colony has been consulted. From Earth to the Outer Rim, the answer is unanimous. We would rather die free than live as slaves." Zarthak was quiet for several seconds, studying Chen's face. When he spoke again, his voice carried a note of genuine confusion. "This is unprecedented. No species has ever chosen death over integration into the hegemony. Are you certain your people understand the consequences?" "Commander, humanity has always understood that some things are worth dying for. Freedom is one of them. Your defiance is futile. Our technology is superior in every measure. Your weapons cannot penetrate our defenses. Your ships are primitive compared to ours. You cannot win." Chen smiled, and for a moment she felt proud to represent her species. "You're absolutely right. We can't win, but that doesn't mean we won't fight." Zarthak's confusion was replaced by something that might have been anger. "Very well. You have chosen your fate. In 6 hours, the hegemony fleet will advance on your worlds. We will demonstrate why 237 species chose wisdom over your foolish pride." Commander, Chen said, just before he could terminate the transmission. There's something you should know about humans. What? We're really good at making the impossible happen when we're properly motivated. The transmission ended, leaving the command center in tense silence. Admiral Chen turned to her staff, all of whom were watching her with expressions ranging from admiration to terror. "Signal the fleet," she ordered. "All ships are to take defensive positions around Earth. Make it look like we're preparing for a siege." "Ma'am," Colonel Harrison asked, "what about the real mission?" "Captain Rodriguez and her team launched for Prometheus Station 20 minutes ago in a stealth shuttle. They'll use the asteroid field for cover and approach the station during the battle. With luck, the aliens will be too focused on destroying our fleet to notice a single small ship." Dr. Walsh stepped forward. "Admiral, even if Captain Rodriguez reaches Prometheus, even if Dr. Petrov's team can complete the modifications, we're still betting everything on an unproven weapon." "You're right," Chen acknowledged. "But Doctor, sometimes you have to bet everything on an impossible chance. It's what humans do." As her staff began implementing final preparations, Chen returned to the viewing screen. The alien fleet had begun moving, advancing slowly toward Earth with the deliberate pace of predators approaching cornered prey. Each ship was a masterpiece of technology that humanity couldn't hope to match. But looking at those ships, Chen felt the same emotion that had sustained her throughout this crisis. It wasn't hope. The tactical situation was too desperate for hope. It wasn't courage. She was terrified for her species and her family. It was something uniquely human, something that had driven her ancestors to stand against overwhelming odds throughout history. It was the absolute refusal to go quietly into the night. The stubborn conviction that even a hopeless fight was better than meek surrender. In 4 hours, the hegemony fleet would engage the human defenders. Most likely, humanity would be extinct by the end of the day. But if Captain Rodriguez and her team could reach Prometheus Station, if Dr. Petrov's theories were correct, if the weapon actually worked as intended, then maybe, just maybe, the galaxy would learn something important about humans. They would learn that humanity had one weapon the hegemony had never encountered in their millions of years of conquest. It wasn't advanced technology or superior numbers. It was something much simpler and much more dangerous. It was the absolute refusal to accept that anything was truly impossible. The battle began exactly as every simulation had predicted. The hegemony fleet advanced in perfect formation, their crystalline ships glowing with alien energy as they approached Earth's defensive perimeter. Admiral Chen watched from the command center as her 43 ships took positions that any military strategist would recognize as hopeless. "First contact in 30 seconds, reported Lieutenant Peterson, his voice steady despite the circumstances. "All ships, weapons free," Admiral Chen commanded. "Give them everything we have." The human fleet opened fire first, launching every missile and energy weapon they possessed at the approaching aliens. The vacuum of space lit up with nuclear fire and plasma beams as humanity's best weapons struck the hegemony vessels. The alien ships didn't even slow down. "No damage detected on any enemy vessels," reported the tactical officer. "Their shields are absorbing our weapons with minimal energy fluctuation." "Sir, incoming transmission from the lead hegemony ship," Peterson called out. "On screen." Supreme Commander Zarthak appeared, his expression now one of mild annoyance rather than the anger he had shown earlier. "Human Admiral, you have demonstrated your species' courage. Now watch as we demonstrate why courage without wisdom leads only to death." The alien fleet returned fire. The difference between human and hegemony weapons technology became immediately apparent. Where human missiles and energy beams had failed to even scratch the alien shields, the hegemony's response was devastatingly effective. Beams of coherent energy lanced out from their ships, and wherever they touched human vessels, metal simply ceased to exist. "U.S. Defiant destroyed," came the first damage report. UES Yorktown suffering catastrophic hull breach. UES Intrepid has lost all main power. In the first 30 seconds of alien retaliation, humanity lost 8 ships. The mathematical progression was brutally simple. At this rate, the entire human fleet would be destroyed in less than 10 minutes. "Admiral," Colonel Harrison called out, "should we signal a withdrawal?" Chen shook her head. "No retreat. Our job is to keep their attention focused here while Captain Rodriguez reaches Prometheus Station." The battle continued its predictable course. Human ships died with machine-like regularity while failing to inflict any meaningful damage on their attackers. But the human crews fought with a desperation and creativity that seemed to surprise the aliens. When the UESS Marathon lost its main weapons, Captain Torres rammed his ship directly into a hegemony vessel. The human ship was vaporized on impact, but for just a moment, the alien ship's shields flickered. When the UESS Thermopylae was crippled and drifting, her crew rigged the fusion reactor to overload and drift into the alien formation. The explosion took out 3 more human escort ships, but managed to scratch the paint on one alien hull. "Fascinating," came Zarthak's voice over an open channel. "Your species continues to fight even when victory is impossible. Do you not understand that this is wasteful destruction of life?" Admiral Chen responded while watching another of her ships die. "Commander, you obviously don't understand humans very well. Enlighten me. We're not fighting because we think we can win. We're fighting because that's who we are." The battle had been raging for 40 minutes when Lieutenant Peterson suddenly looked up from his communications console, his face showing the first hope Chen had seen in days. "Admiral, I'm receiving a coded transmission from Prometheus Station. Captain Rodriguez has arrived safely." Chen felt her heart leap. The first part of their desperate plan had actually succeeded. "Rodriguez to command," came the captain's voice over the secure channel. "We've reached Prometheus and linked up with Dr. Petrov's team. They've been working on the resonance generator for 6 hours already. Estimate completion in 40 minutes. "Understood, Captain. Maintain radio silence from this point forward." Chen looked at the tactical display. Of the 43 ships that had begun the battle, only 16 remained functional. The aliens were methodically destroying the human fleet with casual efficiency, like gardeners pulling weeds. But they had bought Rodriguez nearly an hour to reach Prometheus. Now they needed to buy her 40 more minutes. "All remaining ships," Chen broadcast on the fleet frequency, "maintain aggressive attack posture. I don't care if our weapons can't hurt them. Make them work to kill us." The surviving human vessels responded with renewed fury. They spread out across a wider area, forcing the aliens to split their fire. They used hit-and-run tactics, ducking behind debris from their own destroyed ships. They fired chaff and electronic countermeasures to confuse alien targeting systems. None of it changed the ultimate outcome, but it slowed the process of human extinction from 10 minutes to an hour. "Sir," Peterson called out, "I'm detecting new contacts on long-range sensors." "More hegemony ships?" "Negative, sir. These signatures are different." The tactical display updated to show new vessels dropping out of hyperspace at the edge of the solar system. These ships were larger than anything in the hegemony fleet, and their design was completely different. Angular, brutal-looking vessels that seemed designed for one purpose only. Supreme Commander Zarthak's image appeared on the main screen again, but now his expression had changed completely. The confidence was gone, replaced by what looked like genuine concern. "Impossible," he muttered, speaking more to himself than to Admiral Chen. "Commander," Chen asked, "who are those ships?" Zarthak seemed to remember he was being watched. "Human Admiral, you have attracted the attention of forces beyond your understanding. Those are hegemony dreadnoughts, ships we deploy only when a species poses an existential threat to our civilization." "We pose an existential threat?" Chen couldn't hide her surprise. "Commander, you've been destroying our fleet for the past hour without breaking a sweat. How could we threaten your entire civilization?" Because, Zarthak said quietly, in 1,000,000 years of conquest, no species has ever chosen death over submission. Your defiance represents something we have never encountered before. If word of human resistance spreads to our subject species— He didn't finish the sentence, but Chen understood. The hegemony's power wasn't just based on military superiority. It was based on the absolute certainty that resistance was futile. Humanity's refusal to surrender, even in the face of certain death, challenged that fundamental assumption. How many species have you conquered through fear rather than actual force? Chen asked. Admiral, you do not comprehend the implications of what you have done. The Dreadnoughts carry planet-killing weapons. They will not merely destroy your fleet or conquer your worlds. They will sterilize every planet in your system and ensure that no trace of human civilization survives to inspire others. The new ships were enormous, each one easily 10 times larger than the biggest hegemony vessel in the first wave. As they approached, space around them seemed to bend and twist in ways that hurt to look at directly. Admiral, Peterson reported, I'm reading energy signatures from the Dreadnoughts that are off the scale. Whatever weapons they're carrying, they make the first wave look like toys. Chen checked her chrono. Rodriguez had been on Prometheus Station for 1 hour and 20 minutes. If Dr. Petrov's estimates were correct, they needed only 20 more minutes to complete the resonance weapon. But looking at the approaching Dreadnoughts, Chen realized they probably didn't have 20 minutes. Those ships would reach firing range in less than 10. Signal all remaining vessels, she commanded. Prepare for final engagement. Whatever those things are planning to do, we're going to make them work for it. The human fleet's last 8 ships formed up for one final charge. It was a gesture that any rational observer would call pointless. Damaged human vessels making a last desperate attack against ships that could probably destroy planets. But as Admiral Chen watched her remaining captains prepare to sacrifice themselves for 20 more minutes of time, she felt something she hadn't expected. Pride. Humanity was about to be extinct, but they were going out exactly the way she would have wanted, fighting to the bitter end against impossible odds. Admiral, Peterson suddenly called out, his voice excited. Massive energy spike from Prometheus Station. The tactical display showed a brilliant flare of light from the asteroid belt where the research station was located. Dr. Petrov's resonance weapon was activating. All human ships, emergency retreat, Chen commanded. Get as far from the alien fleet as possible, immediately. As the surviving human vessels began emergency burns away from the battle zone, the space around the hegemony fleet began to shimmer strangely. The crystalline alien ships started to glow more brightly, their energy signatures fluctuating wildly, and then one by one they began to go dark. The effect started with the smaller ships and spread rapidly through the fleet. Lights went out, engines stopped firing, and the graceful alien vessels began drifting like dead metal in space. Even the massive Dreadnoughts weren't immune. Their reality-bending energy fields collapsed as their ships lost power. What's happening? Chen asked, barely believing what she was seeing. Dr. Petrov's voice came over the communication system from Prometheus Station. Admiral, the resonance weapon worked perfectly. The quantum disruption field has disabled every alien ship in the system. Their exotic matter systems have gone into cascade failure. Supreme Commander Zarthak appeared on screen one last time, his image flickering as his ship's power systems failed. His expression was one of complete shock. This is impossible, he said. No primitive species could develop technology capable of— His transmission cut out as his ship lost all power. Admiral Chen stared at the tactical display showing hundreds of disabled alien vessels drifting helplessly in space. The most powerful military force in the known galaxy had been crippled by a weapon built by humans in less than 2 days. Orders, Admiral? Colonel Harrison asked quietly. Chen thought about the 237 species that had surrendered to the hegemony over the past millennium. She thought about the unknown billions of beings living as slaves across the galaxy, convinced that resistance was impossible. "Signal Captain Rodriguez," she said. "Tell her to keep that resonance weapon operational. Then open a channel on all frequencies. I want every ship in this system to hear what I have to say." When the channel was active, Chen began to speak, knowing that her words would be transmitted not just to the disabled alien fleet, but to the hegemony's home worlds through their own communication networks. This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Defense Command, speaking to the galactic hegemony and any subject species who might be listening. Today, humanity was faced with a choice between freedom and slavery. We chose freedom, even though it seemed to mean certain death. She looked at the drifting alien ships on her screen. As you can see, sometimes the impossible becomes possible when you refuse to give up. To the hegemony, understand this. Humanity will never surrender, never submit, and never stop fighting for freedom. To the subject species of the galaxy, know this. Resistance is not futile. The hegemony can be defeated. Chen paused, then added the words that would echo across the galaxy and inspire 100 rebellions. Today, humanity stood against an empire that claimed to be invincible. Tomorrow, we invite every enslaved species in the galaxy to stand with us. The age of the hegemony ends now. As Admiral Chen ended her transmission, she realized that humanity had won more than just a battle. They had shattered the myth of hegemony invincibility and lit a fire that would spread across the stars. The Dreadnoughts had arrived to crush human defiance forever. Instead, they had become monuments to the power of refusing to accept defeat, drifting silently in space as proof that sometimes the impossible really could happen. And in research stations and slave colonies across the galaxy, other species began to remember what freedom meant and started to wonder if maybe, just maybe, they could be human too.